How has the educational system contributed partly to your secret identity? There's three types of children in the school system. There's those children that, number one, they're told what to do and how to think. And that's their secret identity. They're doing what everybody else wants them to do, done. They just go right with it. The second type of kid, they're the heroes where they buck the system. So they're basically terrorized with the labels of being a troublemaker. They're talking when they're not supposed to talk. They're given bad grades. They're given detention for expressing themselves. And they're put in the box as the bad kid. You remember that? How do bad grades equal a bad human being? But that's the way you were taught when you were raised, weren't you? It's a more aggressive way to create the secret identity in kids. Now that third kid, the real superheroes, they don't do what they were told, and they did not respond to the aggressive labeling behavior. They continue to express themselves, but now they're labeled with some type of diagnosis, subjectively. There's no test for it. They say, hey, listen, this label warrants them to be medicated, creating a medically induced coma of the hero on the inside. They basically put the hero in a medical prison, and they will continue to encourage and brainwash their genius that it was wrong or unworthy. It doesn't take long for that hero to die within inside them, and they live a life of a lie. See, insecurity is educated. It's not taught. It is not inborn. Heroes question limits. Have you ever noticed that when we're talking to our kids, or when you talk to a kid, you ask them, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yet when we're adults and we're talking to each other, we ask each other what? What do we do for a living? Where do we lose our vision for our lives and based our identity on what we do, not who we always wanted to be? A couple years ago, one of my mentors, they sat me down and he told me more of a metaphorical story about wolves and what they were. They represented power. They traveled in packs. They were very territorial, very loyal to one another, and just ran the show, so to speak. And his story went something similar to, then one day man came around, and all he did was he put out a piece of food, and he stood far away. And then the wolf very instinctively took its time, assessed all the areas, and eventually got up, grabbed the meat and hauled, ran away. Then each day the man would come out, put a piece of meat, but he would get closer and closer. And then he started to notice the wolf used to then walk right up, get the meat, and then trot away. The wolf started becoming timid, more trusting, he was just more satisfied with the environment. And as the man got closer and closer each day, putting up the food, one day he put the food there and stood right next to it like this, and stood still, and the wolf went up. He even looked at the man, he grabbed, and he walked away. Then the following day, the man put out the piece of food, stood there. The wolf came up, and he started to eat the food right there, right next to the man. And that's when the man put a noose around the wolf's neck. My mentor told me in that moment is when the wolf became the dog. And he goes, Chris, and I'm going to relay this to you. He goes, you need to make a decision. He goes, are you going to be a wolf or are you going to be a dog? And he goes, there's nothing wrong with dogs, but they sure as hell ain't wolves. Sometimes as adults, we're frustrated with the kids. And the reason why you're frustrated with them, in reality, they're reminding us of the qualities we feel we really lost. We're denying those qualities within ourselves. We have fought our child hero.